Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this morning's webinar. Doing things a little bit differently today, so please feel free to unmute yourselves and also share your cameras. This is in meeting format rather than the usual webinar format. We'd very much like your participation. We've got some, so Anne, good morning. James, hello, nice to see you. Nika, good morning.
Morning.
Hi, Victoria. It's been a while since we've spoken, Victoria. Nice to see you on there.
Hi, good to see you.
So I'm just going to wait a moment before we start. Because we're using Eventshare for the first time, and most people are used to joining our webinars on Zoom. So we'll just wait a moment, and then we'll start. Right. Okay, we'll crack on then. Hello, everybody. I'm Rob Everly from Managing Director of Bright Elm. We deliver event services to associations. Welcome to our webinar. In fact, it's not really a webinar today. A new format, new platform, some new audience members that I haven't met before as well. If you feel free to share your video. It's always nice to see who else is on the platform. If not, don't worry about it. We won't insist on it. But we would very much like your contributions today. We'd like discussions, and we'd like to share some best practice. Virtual exhibitions have been problematic for many of us. How exactly do we get the audience to engage with exhibitors? There have been some great success stories. There have been some very unsuccessful stories as well. And I know for my clients, the experience has been mixed. We've found, I think, that when it comes to online events, people are behaving very, very differently. As organizers, we've become very adept at bringing our conference audience into the exhibition, almost bribing them in some instances with food, with drinks, with coffee breaks, networking, posters, anything we can to bring them into the exhibition. I personally believe that when we go to a conference, when we go to an exhibition that is just an exhibition, we go with our buying hats on. We go with the idea that we are going to meet potential new suppliers that can help us solve problems. When we go to a conference, we don't do that. We go with our learning and networking hats on. I can't say that I ever think about the exhibitors when I'm going to a conference. It's a nice add-on. So the question is, as organizers, when we have exhibitions as add-ons to conferences, why are we still doing it? Now, there's an obvious financial mechanism or support mechanism there. Having a trade exhibition helps bring the prices down, but does it really provide value for the exhibitors? And that's, I think, one of the major issues with virtual exhibitions is we have less to bribe the attendees with. We have less to bring them, less tools to be able to bring them into the virtual exhibition rather than the the physical exhibition and to get them to interact with the partners. That's where I am on it at the moment, and it'll be very interesting to see where the conversation goes today. And as I said, I'm hoping that many of you will contribute. If you would like to contribute, you can. If the bottom of your windows, you'll be able to see a hand which says "Raise Hand." Feel free to try that now. That should work for you, and turn that off again. Alternatively, I may just ask some of you to contribute that I know are happy to contribute on these matters that I can see in the list. But what I'm going to do first of all is actually just hand over to my colleague Guy. Guy Timson is head of sponsorship for Brighthelm. He looks after our commercial clients and helps them raise sponsorship and exhibition sales. Good morning, Guy.
Good morning, Rob. Good morning, everybody. I'm very glad to see so many of you here. Rob's already raised some very interesting points there. My background, back in the day, I was an exhibition manager at a company that got subsumed into other companies called Blenheim Exhibitions, and one of the exhibitions I worked on was recreational management, which was all about sports gear and gym gear and EPOS systems and lots of really funky physical stuff that visitors could get their hands on and kind of like look around and really get the benefit of. I've worked on many different exhibitions as well. Transferring some of that physicality and some of that face-to-face experience into a virtual exhibition format is really quite difficult, especially when you're forced to. If it's a choice, then it's slightly different. So what I'd like to put forward is we'd like to ask a few questions of everyone today. Firstly, do virtual exhibitions work? Secondly, how do we get attendees to visit virtual stands? Thirdly, what can we do to help exhibitors get better ROI from virtual events? And fourth, what's the best software? I mean, we're using Eventsair today. But what's the best software that you have seen to run virtual exhibitions? And hopefully we'll have a lot of different takeaways from all of these various topics and anything that you guys want to throw in as well over the coming hour. So firstly, do virtual exhibitions work? Myself, I think they do, providing you've got the conditions right. And I think they work from the point of view of selling them to exhibitors, providing you've got these two pillars that I always refer to called relevance and audience. If you are able to prove to your exhibitors that you have got the right people coming to the right type of conference with the right type of content for those people as well, and then if that is a worthy, I guess, commercial enterprise for them to be involved in, then they're going to want to get involved for certain reasons, not necessarily just on the side of the physical exhibitions. They're going to want to get involved for the amount of time they've got both pre and post event to connect with people as well. Physical exhibitions are always very high pressure, right? We've got to get everyone's details on the day or two that they're here, and we've got to have meaningful conversations wherever possible. It's not necessarily like that with a virtual exhibition. So that's just my very brief take on it. I'd hand back to Rob now. Thanks for your time. I'd hand back to Rob, and then we can start to go through some of these questions, starting, I guess, with do virtual exhibitions work? Rob, do you want to take over and field answers from the floor?
Yeah, thanks. I want to just come back to something a moment. I want to ask your opinion on something before I do that. What's the state of the marketplace at the moment for sponsorship and exhibitions from your experience?
It is on the rise. I would say the best way to describe it, in the last 3 or 4, maybe 5 weeks since the lockdown started to ease, it's rising up. It's partly to do with the end of the financial year at the end of March as well. So there's a combination of things, but I'm getting more and more inquiries. I should add that one of the things that I do for Brighton is that I'm sponsorship director for the Bristol Balloon Fiesta, which I've got this little picture here. That's always up there. It's not just up there for today. With that, we're starting to get some really good discernible inquiries for the Fiesta in August. Now that's quite a condensed time zone. A lot of exhibitions, a lot of conferences generally tend to happen in that season from October to February, October to March. So there's a pretty decent lead time for a lot of them. But I'm finding that people are coming out of the commercial woodwork now. They're starting to, marketing departments are starting to say, well, we have to sell stuff. We have to promote next year's lines. We have to promote everything that we do. We have to support our sales force, who've probably been, to a certain extent, under-supported in the last year. So how are we going to do that? Where are we going to do that? And obviously, exhibitions and sponsorship opportunities have.
We just missed the last thing you said there, Guy.
Exhibitions and sponsorship has formed a part of big companies and every company's marketing opportunities for forever, basically. So why shouldn't they do from now on? It's just it's shifted slightly, so we've got to look at how we can maximize that shift when talking to people.
I guess we also have to remember that a lot of companies have had 12 months or more without really investing in marketing at all, and they've got some time to make up and some sales to make up with. I think there's definitely a growing confidence in the marketplace. So let's
because they're looking for this audience, and the audience is out there again now. The audience has been at home for the best part of a year and a quarter, and they're out there. If you look at the papers today, retail is soaring, and that's the first indicator of business confidence when people start to spend money in shops. Inflation's going up as well, but it's going to for the next few months. But retail's soaring, so that gives people confidence, and that confidence moves up into the commercial world. So the people who are selling everything on the retail side, all of the other people within that chain, they're going to have to start marketing as well.
Okay, thanks. So I think if anyone would like to make a comment, just take yourselves off mute, and I'll be able to see on the attendee list if you've done that. The first question is, do virtual exhibitions work? Who attending today has got experience of virtual exhibitions? And straight off the mark there, Victoria. Hi, Victoria.
Hi. I just wanted to add my input, as always. So I sell sponsorship and exhibition for a number of different clients. And what we learned in 2020 was the virtual exhibition works if you can drive the traffic to their stand by having some alignment with program. So if we just have your virtual exhibition there and they give the lowest value, they won't benefit from the traffic, and the numbers will be low. On the other end of the spectrum, if they've done a short video intro that we've pushed out, if they've been sat on a panel.
Victoria, are you still with us? Okay.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, you're back. Sorry, I turned your camera off because I think there was some interference there. Perhaps we could start again and you could share what you were saying.
So what we learned in 2020 was that virtual exhibitions on their own don't work. The traffic numbers were really low. But the other end of the spectrum, if we had the exhibitor buy on a few extras just to sit on a panel, perhaps, be involved in content, have a banner ad alongside a part of the program that was relevant to them, then that drove the traffic, and then they enjoyed a very different experience. So it's a no if it's exhibition only from me. If you get behind the digitalization of the promotion in advance and put them in the program.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because if you think about virtual exhibition, well, we can have a conversation with any of our supply base any time just by sending them an email and arranging a Zoom call. So why do we need to engage with them at a virtual exhibition if we can't actually meet them? I think it's very, very interesting points, Victoria, about encouraging exhibitors to get involved in content delivery, because typically that's been an area for sponsorship, only sponsorship, getting involved in content. And I think you're right, but I'm very interested also in this idea that I talked about at the beginning, which is the difference between an exhibition which is purely an exhibition and an exhibition which is an add-on to a conference. Add-on isn't the best word to describe it, I know, but it's the only thing that's coming to my mind right now. And I wondered, I had heard that, and I didn't attend, I had heard that the meeting show was quite a good experience this year, and that was online only. Did anyone attend who is with us today and has anything to share on that, or any other exhibitions which they've felt has really worked? I know of, very interesting, one exhibition that did work incredibly well was Macmillan Cancer Care ran an internal online conference for their employees, and the exhibition was all based around wellness. And they had massive attendance of their virtual exhibition because there was an obvious benefit to the attendees to learning and getting involved. And I thought that was fascinating. So it's very easy for us to say, it would be very easy to say that commercially maybe virtual exhibitions often don't work, but where there's a real drive to attend. And I'm not talking about incentives to go to stands or gamification or anything like that. It was a real drive and benefit to going and learning. Attendance seems to go up. I'm going to ask some of there are some quite large organisers on here, and I wanted James Hampton from MCI. I wonder if you would be willing to share how your online exhibitions have gone. Difficulty, of course, is that. Oh yes, you're there. Excellent, James. Thanks very much.
I'm here, Rob. Absolutely.
The difficulty is, of course, I can't see anybody, so I don't know whether they're actually actively listening or just listening along whilst things go on. So thanks for unmuting there. I appreciate it.
No worries, no problem at all. Yeah, I think a lot of us have had the same challenges, haven't we, with virtual exhibitions? On their own, they're very difficult to get the traffic there. And like Vicky, we've used the tactics. What are the benefits can we offer to sponsors? So they feel valued, and they're buying into the content a lot more than they are the actual virtual exhibition stand. I think perhaps we need to, moving forwards, we need to look at perhaps how we label the exhibition. It may be, I mean, we use a platform, like Events Air, the exhibitor profiles. They're not 3D stands.
Yeah,
they're just profiles. They're basically a logo on a website, effectively. So really, it isn't a virtual exhibition that we're driving people towards. It's more of a sponsor zone. So maybe we're managing people's expectations in the wrong way as well. So that kind of area needs to be looked at. And I think also we do a lot of healthcare meetings as well. So compliance comes into it, which means you can't do incentives. You can't, the sponsors can't necessarily run competitions and giveaways and anything like that. So what's the real pull for me to go and visit the exhibition stands? Most of the delegates are busy with their day jobs. They're just there to look at the content. They're not even there to network with each other half the time. So it's a real challenge. It is a real challenge. I haven't got the answer, but I'm hoping someone on this call does.
I don't. Yeah, we'd all. I think we'd all hope that. I guess the point. I don't think there's a magic answer to the issue. I think one thing we must do as organisers is stop thinking about thinking that the exhibition. An online exhibition is the same as a live exhibition, and the same with the events. I think we all, last March, April, we were all talking about the buzzword, which I absolutely hate, which is pivot to online. It drove me nuts. And we we don't pivot to online. We have to recreate the event in an online format. It's the same with exhibitions. I just think we need to think differently about things. Hi, Guy.
Rob, yeah, I'll make a couple of points, one of which on James's thing, this idea of a sponsors zone, where sponsors and exhibitors in the online world tend to merge together.
Yes,
because they, you know, if they don't, then you do have to have a dedicated exhibition platform. It does have to be separate. It does have to drive traffic independently to it to justify the ROI for the exhibitors. So taking James' point, having more of this zone where various different sponsors have the opportunity to show people what they do, in the absolute context of what that conference is about, because obviously there's an awful lot of the sponsors which are big businesses, for instance in medical and pharma, where they're really only showing one small section of the broad diversity of what they do. So it's all about the sponsors channeling their efforts for their visitors to go in there. The other thing I'd say as well, on the exhibitors side, is, yeah, normally an exhibitor, if they're at a real exhibition, they are glued to their stand. They might take a little bit of a walk around, especially during the traditional breaks where all of the conference delegates swarm into the exhibition hall, stand at the coffee stands, go around all the stands, then go back to conference. The exhibitors have got more opportunity, as you said, Rob, to get involved in other aspects of overall conference, of the overall event, because they're not physically tied. So they can take part, for instance, in webinars like this during the virtual event as a way of both supplementing their exhibition package and promoting themselves as well.
That's a really, really interesting point. I'm going to ask Claire Forestier, I hope you don't mind, Claire, if you could unmute. I've got a question for you. So Claire has been doing a lot of virtual hosting. I was fortunate enough to meet her for a coffee on Tuesday, which was great fun. It's so nice to be able to meet people for coffee again. Hi, Claire. Thanks for joining this morning. I was wondering, from your experience as a host, how have you seen sponsors and exhibitors interact with audiences? You must have seen that in the content in places.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see it as much as I'd like, to be fair, because quite often I'm on the platform, the other platform, and then I'm part of what I'm saying is encouraging people to go. But obviously I see the numbers afterwards and I hear the clients talking about it, and there's this concern because people aren't going and they've had to put in all this gamification and go and visit our sponsors, and then you get more points and so on. And of course that's not really the way to do it. And I think the problem as well is people tend to time it always with the natural break that they'd be giving people. And I think I wrote a post about this, when people are getting a break online, they're going into their kitchen, they're going off wherever, they're doing stuff, they get distracted, they don't want to come back to the computer during their break because they could be on it all day. It's not like when you're at an event, when you go and get a coffee at the event and then you see where all the people are gathering and you realize that's in the exhibition place and you go in there and you start, you want to go, it's fun. So that's been the problem, is I will keep trying to say to clients, is make it something that's really part of the program. It's not just what you do during the breaks, because we're human beings. We don't want to go and sit on the computer for any longer than we have to, and so we are naturally going to spend less time in the exhibition space unless it's given a really, a real reason for you to be there, as if it's part of the program and it's really exciting. Otherwise you're just going to be like, oh, it's the extra I can do if I'm bored, and that's not what your sponsor wants.
You made a very interesting point there, and it was about people's behavior. And when they're in breaks, they don't want to be at the screen, they want to be going, making coffee, standing up, walking around. But isn't it the same at live events? I know I've run events, I've planned huge events, I've also been an exhibitor at conferences, and actually, as an exhibitor, you often get a pretty raw deal. You get you get 20 minutes in a morning break. Well, actually, all people are doing is going and talking about seeing their friends and grabbing a cup of coffee. That's all they've got time to do. You may get an hour for lunch while people are eating, and then they want to go out for some fresh air, because we all know spending 8-9 hours in a conference center just drives most people nuts and completely dries out your body too. And the same in the afternoon. And then you may get a drinks reception in the evening. Well, of course, what people want to do in the drink receptions, have a drink and have a chat. So I'm starting to think that, you know, actually, should we really be having exhibitions as part of conferences anyway? That's a huge question, I know, and I don't think anyone can answer it. And like I said at the beginning, from an attendee's perspective, there's a great advantage because it keeps the entry fee lower. From an organizer's perspective, that's great because you've got another source of commercial revenue. And I'm kind of, and I guess it depends on the type of event as well, but I've been at events where the exhibition doesn't work because the market isn't right or the visitors just aren't interested as part of a conference. I'm really starting to question whether we should be continuing to build that in as a model.
Well, we talked about this on whatever day we met. I can't remember where it is. They'd all rolled into one now, but it was lovely to see you. But it's meeting design, event design, the whole thing has been given a bit of a kick up the rear end, and I think it's time we start thinking about these things, because you do raise a very valid point. It's got to have it's not got to just be shoved in the spaces and the breaks. And I think a lot of events, there's so much on the agenda that you've got to go to, and you feel like you're rushing from A to B if you want to go to it all. And then of course this sponsorship ends up being the last place you go and visit, which is just wrong. So you're right, yeah, the whole idea has to be turned on its head a little bit.
Okay, yeah, that's good. Thanks so much for that. I'd like to talk a bit more positively now about what people have seen does work. You know, gave the example of Midlands conference where their exhibition was all about wellness, and that really worked well for them. Has anybody on the meeting got any experience about something that's worked really well for them and has produced really good results? Okay, well, that's quite telling, I think. Silence is deafening there. That's really interesting. I guess that's the reason why most of us are, or most of you joined this call today, because you're struggling, I guess. Yeah, Guy.
I think, yeah, one of the overriding conclusions from that roaring silence is that there is no silver bullet. There's no magic answer for this. One of the points I would make, though, is that one of the things when we first went into lockdown in March last year that we talked about, I think on one of the first webinars, was when you talk about pivoting, Rob, is that don't pivot away from an offering that you can't pivot back to. So if you've got an offering that works, live exhibitions will happen again very soon, for instance with Confex, and they will be starting to happen again a lot as vaccination levels rise, as COVID levels go down, all sorts of different things like that. So when we're looking at virtual exhibitions and virtual events, are we really trying to plan for what we're going to be offering for the next maybe 1 or 2 iterations if we're doing something quarterly, or maybe the next 1 iteration if we're doing it annually? And if so, whether we want to think, okay, well, we don't necessarily need to concentrate on the exhibition part, really high conference, meeting all the sponsors' needs within the conference so that we can then flow back through to our real-time exhibition the year after. That would be one of the things there at this stage.
Okay, we just missed the last bits of what you said there, Guy. Would you mind repeating that?
Yeah, are we wanting to really just look at this year at getting a really great overall online conference for the sponsors, making sure we're delivering the value there so that we can flow back into whatever real event scenario that we're looking at next year? Or are we looking at the online experience as a year-on-year thing from now on? These are all questions I know that a lot of conference companies are asking themselves. I'd be interested to know what the panel's views are on those.
Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, the next question, we've moved on naturally to how we get attendees to visit virtual stands. We've spoken about that a little. How about ROI for exhibitors? What can exhibitors do to get more involved in or get better ROI from events? We had some good suggestions from Victoria and James so far, and I wondered, Nika, if I could come to you and just that was quick.
I'm listening. I'm here. I'm active.
It's quite a good test, isn't it? Who else can I pick on? I know you just started a new role, so it's perhaps a bit early to start to talk about that one. But I know you've been. We've had conversations about online platforms, and I wondered, perhaps in your previous role, or in fact the current role, how you've found exhibitors performing, and are exhibitors changing the way they're thinking about attending as well?
I think exhibitors have figured out in the last year that just the exhibition or the listing on the website doesn't work, right?
Okay.
So a lot of them are reluctant to just to sign any contracts or to be part of the event, because they know that the exhibition alone doesn't work. So I think it's on us to tell them, yes, we agree, because we've seen that the engagement just isn't there or the way that they wanted it, but it's on us to work together with them to show them what does work. So either that's industry sponsored symposia in the medical field, or the tech theaters, or soft breaks where a sponsor leads a mindfulness break or a yoga break, but anything that allows them that platform to actually engage with the participants. And I think they haven't, or majority of the ones that I've spoken to, possibly haven't made that switch yet that you were talking about earlier, where we're not pivoting to virtual, we're making new events, right? So the behavior of our attendees is completely different. So we need to bring our sponsors and exhibitors on that journey, and I think quite a lot of us, including me, have not done that sufficiently yet to make them feel comfortable. So what we're looking at now in my new role, or just developing it, we're nowhere near an answer if that's a solution, but it's actually we're going to try to stop selling a virtual event, but we're going to push for a year-long or 2-year partnership, right? And on top of that, we're going to give them a complimentary exhibit booth in a virtual space, right? That's an add-on. Take it if you want it, but I think we're going to have to start building on partnerships, and that ties in together what James said. That I think it was James that we need to stop calling it exhibition, because it's not an exhibition, right?
Yeah.
So the word that we were toying with is basically more of a partner zone or a partner hub, because we want to make our sponsors and exhibitors partners of what we do as an association, and them exhibiting, or again, a wrong word, them being present at the virtual congress, that's an add-on, right? We're going to add them that on complimentary. But yeah, as said, we're toying with that, so it would be also interesting to see or hear what others think about that.
So anybody got anything they want to add to that? It's very interesting points there. Victoria, hi.
Hi, just as Nika was saying there, we've recently pulled together a partnership engagement page for a client to do exactly that. It just becomes a hub for the attendees, so there's no pressure on this tracking the numbers on how many people visit there. But then what we do to drive traffic as an add-on is we do an exhibitor stream news. So we bring the exhibitors' products and services to life for the attendees, giving some extra promotion for the exhibitors by asking them a pre-selected number of questions, 4 questions, pre-recorded, no live Q&A, but to continue the conversations, we drive them to the partner engagement page where they can then pick up all the resources and the contact details. That's working out quite well.
No, I love that idea. That's brilliant. I think we as organizers need to work much harder now than we've ever done to try and get return on investment for our partners. It's safe to say, I think that many of us in the part, I mean, I've often thought that we need to be better at the account management side of making sure that we get return on investment for the exhibitors once they've confirmed with us. Hi, Mark, lovely to meet you. You've got something to contribute?
Yeah, no, I think just in response to your, do we have to work harder? I think we have to try and see this as an opportunity. I think expos to me have always been about, you go into an expo room because you want to find something new.
Yeah.
So you're kind of primed to that novelty element. And I think there is an extraordinary creative opportunity that's opened up, whether we like it or not, through the new formats we've had to explore. And that, in a way, is an opportunity for those of us in the industry to try new things. And I think our audience is open to that. And I think we have to try new and novel things within our approaches. I mean, I've been to events on Hopin, which I think have been just fabulous, with all the different range of elements within that particular platform, whether it's the conferencing element on stages, whether it's the one-to-one networking element, whether it's the virtual expo, which actually I do think works when you have a break. You can dip in and dive in and see stuff, and that even lasts beyond the event itself. So I think there are a range of ways in which we can be more creative. There was the Watershed did an event they called Pixel Shed, which is not as similar to something I just was watching last night on Mozilla Hubs, where you turn up with your avatar and you virtually walk into that space. And within that were exhibitors, were pieces of film video about some of the exhibits. It was actually great fun to do, and I don't think it was necessarily particularly expensive either. The other thing to say, just going back to the physical expos and your point about can you run the two side by side? I actually do think you can run the two side by side, but I take your point totally about it can't be just in the gaps. You've got to give it more than 10 minutes. And I think the events I've run, we've generally given it, an extraordinary amount. You've had it going for an hour or even an hour and a half. And actually that does work, but again, it only works when the material within the expo is exciting. So the quality threshold has to be good as well. So just to sum up, I'm all for seeing this as a creative opportunity. I think the audience are primed and willing to experiment with us. We just have to be imaginative and brave.
That's great, Mark. Thanks so much for that. Guy?
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, Mark. And going back to your point, Rob, as well, about do we need to do more on the account management side? What this does also is it frees us up to ask many more questions of our clients and of our prospects on what they want to achieve with their presence at our events. Because usually we are governed and driven to a certain extent by a menu of stands, of banners, of various different opportunities that we have physically available to us at a site. And now, referring back to Mark's thing about the pixel side of things and about the avatar side, this is, what do you want to do? What do you want to do that's new and exciting? What have you worked on internally? What do you think you might want to project? And we'll see if we can facilitate it. So there's no such answer as no until no becomes the answer. It's a case of, let's broaden our horizons and find something that you can do. And if we can do it, we will.
I think one of the big issues we have is that when we're online, it's kind of like being blind or being a horse with blinkers on, because you only get one view. And I love all the discussions about avatars. Behavior breeds behavior. We had a guy and I were having a conversation with a client yesterday about a retiring collection from an event to help boost of revenue. This is a not for profit, and somebody, I can't remember who it was, pointed out that actually once someone sees someone else donate to something, it breeds that behavior. It continues. So you get one person to it, somebody else will then, oh yeah, I'll do that, I'll follow. And I think one of the big issue for me, I think, and this applies to for those of you who run medical and scientific conferences, as well as exhibitions, this blinkered vision creates a bit of a problem, because in a poster presentation situation, the presenters can't see you who's wandering around. They have no idea. So, they wonder, well, is the software working properly? Or is it just no one's interested in seeing my poster? And it's the same, I think, with both the poster visiting the posters and also visiting the exhibition as well. The attendees at the conference can't see who else, in an online format, can't see who else is attending. So if they can't see who's attending, it can't see other people having interest in it, it's not going to breed interest. And I think this idea of avatars and being able to see how busy certain places are is really, really interesting. There was a previous webinar about six months ago we did, and I think it was on platforms, and somebody was saying they wished that the gaming industry would get involved in the events industry in some way, because a lot of our technology is very it's very two-dimensional that we're working with right now. And perhaps in time we'll be talking about next generation event technology, when we have much more of a visual experience of an event on the screen. Does anyone like to comment on that, on avatars and this idea that behavior breeds other behavior? I was going to ask Yvonne, actually. Thanks for joining us, Yvonne, and see what you've come across in your work over the past 12 months.
Hi, Rob. Thanks for having me. I actually haven't worked since August, but I can update you on my history, offline. But the reason why I actually join, webinars like this from time to time is that I very much am keeping a link to the events world. Okay. And it's actually really interesting to hear everyone's comments and to go along on the journey that everybody is having, which is very much like a roller coaster. I agree very much with a lot of the comments that some of the other attendees have said, that exhibitions, I believe, will struggle, and I very much am an advocate of bringing your sponsor in very much like a partner, as one of the other attendees commented. So that's where I'm at, and I really appreciate appreciate still being able to actually keep up to date with lots of things that are happening in the events world. So thank you to you for allowing me to join.
Cool, thanks, Yvonne. Okay, let's move on. Let's talk about solutions. And I've just had a brief look at the comments. Actually, Hannah, you've suggested that Socio, which is a platform that I haven't heard of. Oh, there's so many, aren't there? That recently launched video rooms on their platform where you can see how many people are interacting with each sponsor. And they linked it for gamification, so you receive a code from the sponsor. Hannah, are you able to tell us a bit more about that?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, yeah, we've got you loud and clear.
Yeah, perfect. Lovely. Yeah, so Socio have been running their own webinars on their own platform to promote their platform. And I know it's not for everyone, but I'm quite a sucker for gamification, and their way of encouraging people to interact with the sponsors is to go into these video rooms, and then the sponsor can give you a code, and then they were you're entering different codes for different things throughout the webinar, and there was prizes to be won and things. So it was encouraging people to go into those rooms, and also you could see all the rooms and you could see how many people were interacting in each room. So it sort of was like when you're in a in-person exhibition where you can see the stands that are really popular and you think, right, obviously something's good going on there, I'll go and get involved. So it sort of recreated that, as opposed to platforms like Hopin, where you have those same video rooms, but you don't know what you're going into until you sign into that room, and you don't know if it's just going to be a chat or it's just going to be a video.
Okay.
So it was much more sort of interactive. So yeah, I thought that was a good way of doing it.
That's great. Thank you very much. It's great ideas. There's obviously lots of platforms around. Some really are focusing on the exhibition, have done for quite a while. Others don't really cover it. I know that, you know, a major player is VFairs. iVent are still doing well, and some of them have gone to the stage of having a really visual experience. I know that some do avatars, but at the moment it sounds like that is quite expensive. And I wonder if anyone on the call has actually worked with avatars on an online event. Victoria.
So we worked with VFairs last year, and I think last year VFairs just didn't quite see it coming, and we sold the upgraded package and all the avatars and all the bells and whistles, and sadly they couldn't deliver it. They were just so under pressure. However, 12 months on, my client is still using VFairs, and I haven't seen the new platform, but I hear that the improvements to it are really good, and that the online stats, you don't have to wait for reports afterwards anymore, that you can just get access to all of that whilst you're live at the event, and that the avatar is all working now. But I certainly saw samples of it, and it was great that you could have your own face as the exhibitor, perhaps, that always is the face of coming at those commercial events. You can have that person as an avatar sitting at the stand, and when you click on that person, it can jump into a live call or a video with the real person just carrying out an intro piece. It looked really good. We were disappointed that it didn't work last year for us.
Yeah,
but
of course.
Yeah.
Guy?
Yeah, I think part of the issue this time last year and before was that necessity had become the mother of invention. You know, a lot of this was forced on us, so people were really scrabbling to get solutions out there, and then dragged a little bit sometimes, but there are some good ones out there now. I'm just trying to find the name of the one that I've been at yesterday, which is a business show in Gloucestershire where we did some live broadcasts, but we also had a virtual exhibition. I'll put it in the wrap up if I can't find it yet, but yeah, back to you, Rob.
Thanks. Fiona McGillivray. Hi, Fiona. Hope the new job's going well. Does Socio link with other platforms like Eventshare? Quite a technical question. I know that Eventshare isn't brilliant integration with other platforms. It's a really good 360-degree software, but its integrations, external integrations, isn't great. There are a few, and I believe there will be more. But I think regarding each platform is so different in the way some are really welcoming of APIs and integrations. Others struggle a bit more with it, or perhaps on purpose don't want to embrace it. I hope that changes in the future, because, you know, there's no such thing as a perfect platform, is there? And I think we as planners want to be able to pick and choose the best bits from different suppliers as we go forward. Has anybody else seen anything really innovative or amazing that has really floated their boat when it comes to online software for supporting exhibitions? I know that Remo, is it Remo? We did a PCMA event on Remo last month, and we set up different tables to discuss different things, which of course would work for exhibitors as well, and that seemed to work quite well. I think Remo's come on quite a bit. The look and feel is a bit better than it was 12 months ago. But yeah, it's certainly interesting. Be interesting to see a show of hands or comments in the discussion forum who's going to Confex this year. I'm certainly going. I booked my hotel last night because I'd forgotten to do it. It will be a live events industry event, and I'm certainly planning to go, so long as we're allowed to, obviously. Does anybody else have any comments or anything else they'd like to contribute today, either in the discussion forum or live? Okay, well, thank you very much for attending today. Really appreciate it. I hope it's been of value to you. This was a new format for us, and we're gonna take it back to the team and talk about it and see whether it's something we'd like to repeat or not. The next webinar is going to be on the topic of using events as a member recruitment tool. And it's going to be a very interesting discussion. We've got an excellent panel lined up for that. That will be on Friday the 25th of June. Yes, Friday the 25th of June at 10 a.m. And we'll send out registration links to everyone next week. Particular thanks to my colleague Guy for joining us today, and thank you also for your contributions and attendance. And I look forward to seeing you, some of you, in person at an event in the not too distant future. Bye for now.
Bye.